All right.
We all set? Okay, welcome everybody to our May 4th council meeting. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With liberty and justice for all.
Very good, thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Labriola.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Prickett.
here.
Councilmember Conley.
Here.
Councilmember Moffett. Dr. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Tillerson.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Our first business is minutes from our April the 6th meeting. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
I second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, on the next to last paragraph on the last page, I think there is a typographical error. I believe that it's Amy Anderson, not Annie Anderson.
Let the record show
Yeah, I mean,
a sharp,
she wants her name right.
a sharp eye. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
They're approved. Mayor's update. I really don't have anything to add. It seems like it was a busy month, but nothing of substance to take everybody's time with. Citizen comments. Anything? Stephanie?
No.
Petra? Okay, old business, none. New business. Let me take a moment to talk about these ordinances, and I'm really talking about 2021-07 and 2021-08 under tab 2. The ordinance that we have in place currently is an ordinance that was initially adopted in March of 2020, and there have been a number of iterations made to that ordinance over the 15, 16 months. Most notably, the changes that we made in March of this year that really were a result of the changes that took place at the state level, where the governor had basically suspended his emergency ordinance suspended his emergency ordinance. What we did was, if you recall back in March, we embedded a lot of the language that was in the state result into our ordinance. And that is what is in place currently. Although it's accurate, legally accurate, it is a long ordinance, there's a lot of words, and honestly it's cumbersome and I think difficult to explain what takes place here at the town versus what takes place at the state level. So I talked with Stephanie, and a week ago, last Monday, we had a special call, and we talked about this very fact that the ordinance that we have in place may be a little bit difficult, and maybe we should take efforts at this particular point in time to simplify it. There are, besides a number of components of the ordinance itself, there are three really material prohibitions that are embedded within that ordinance. One deals with masks, one deals with social distancing, and one deals with essential businesses occupancy. In the course of our discussion, there was a great deal of consensus surrounding the first two, surrounding the issue of masks and the issue of social distancing in restaurants and the like. We did get into a discussion relative to the issue of essential businesses, and then there was a fourth issue, a fourth scenario brought up, and that had to do with possibly inclusion of large gatherings. At the conclusion of the meeting, Stephanie and Joe were assigned asked if they would prepare a simplified document, and they have. And you see that that is the second, that is 2021-08. That is the simplified version of the municipal emergency ordinance. So the process that we would need to go through this afternoon, if council so agrees, is we need to adopt 2021-07, which rescinds the existing emergency ordinance.
Existing permanent,
Existing
Or-
permanent. existing-
semi-permanent.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Existing permanent ordinance. It took 2 readings to put it in place. It will take 2 readings to
Undo it.
unwind it, undo it. So this would be effectively the first of those 2 readings. Effectively, this ordinance that we just mentioned will be in place for the month of May. It really won't take effect in terms of its unwinding, if you will, until June 1. The second ordinance, 2021-08, is the simplified version, and it encompasses the 2 areas that I mentioned, face covering, masks, and social distancing. On a separate document that Stephanie had sent to all of this is language relative to occupancy levels in essential businesses and language relative to large gatherings. So what I'd like to do is to go through this kind of one by one. We'll deal with, the first would be to rescind this ordinance 2021-07. So could I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion relative to this ordinance, what we're doing, why we're doing it?
I'm a little, go ahead, Mary Ann. I'm just a little confused by the date on here. Moved, approved, and adopted this first day of June 2021. That's not today, and that's not our next council meeting. So what is that?
If you want to, June is our next council meeting.
June is our next.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not June 1.
I think our next council meeting is June 1.
Yeah.
The first.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
first Tuesday.
I'm looking at June 1 as, that's a Tuesday. I'm sorry, I apologize. I
okay.
can't read my own calendar.
Yeah, but let me just
No, I understand
try
now.
to succinctly put it from the legal point of view. We are pivoting away from a permanent ordinance or a semi-permanent one, going back to using the emergency ordinance provisions that are effective on one reading, but can only last 61 days.
Mm-hmm.
The permanent one is passed like a normal ordinance, 2 readings, can last as long as we want it to last. There's some built-in cutoffs for that, but that's what we're pivoting away from. So to rescind that permanent ordinance takes 2 readings.
Yeah, no, I get all that. I just misread my calendar.
Okay.
We went through all that because you misread your calendar.
Yeah, I thought the first was a Monday.
Is this just an, what is this document?
That's a different item.
That's a
Yeah,
whole different,
there's a document.
that's another subject altogether.
We're talking.
It's COVID, but
Yeah, that's different. We're just talking about the
A
permanent.
and B.
A and B on the,
Under your tab, we're just talking
yes,
about
I understand.
yeah.
I just
tab 2 and
thought that
3.
was fine.
okay, any other questions or comments at all? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so 2021 is passed. Now, 2021-08, the shortened, simplified version that speaks to face covering and speaks to social distancing. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I have just a point of clarification just in my own mind, where it says mask requirements, all persons in any indoor public space, just as a point of clarification. that's no longer, you have to wear it while waiting to get into line to a restaurant or while standing under a breezeway or an open air porch, is that correct?
As this is
Yeah,
written,
okay.
Yeah.
correct, yes.
Perfect. And then my only other question was, this will automatically expire on July the 4th. Well, our next meeting, I just checked my calendar to make sure I got this right,
Yeah.
is July the 6th. So will we be having a called meeting before that time to renew it? Okay.
Or we can renew it June 1st.
Yeah, that'd be the other
Yeah.
thing.
But again, does everybody,
Unfortunately, they didn't give us 70 days, which would have made more sense, because then you can capture the
Well,
shift in.
well, on June 1st is when it becomes effective, so on June 1st, we can also renew it.
That's right. I mean,
It becomes
did we not
effective.
talk about even putting this off until June? The
Yeah,
emergency
yeah, we did talk
ordinance?
about all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, come
So
June,
potentially, I mean, we could even wait until June 1st to pass this.
yeah, because
Because the permanent one's gonna stay in place until the second
Yeah.
reading.
but we did talk about it, but we felt it's best
to just go ahead and
to
keep it
go
on.
ahead, yeah,
That's fine.
yeah,
It also lets the world know where you're headed.
exactly,
Yeah.
That was
exactly.
the reason why.
Which I think is important because it was shortly thereafter, a day or two, the the
Yeah.
governor made his public comments relative to
Base,
kind of overriding local municipalities and the prerogatives that they had relative to this, and I don't know if anything more has been said about that. Stephanie, if you recall, sent out an update to all of us in terms of which communities were already rescinding all of their ordinances. And I guess the most notably will now be the city of Charleston, May the 13th or something. They're supposed to address this and whatever we don't know what they're gonna do, but whatever they do. So I think things are gonna happen in the month of May.
And I would just note, though, that this emergency ordinance is not effective until June 1st,
Right.
right.
which is when the second reading on the rescission of the permanent ordinance will occur.
Will occur. Any other comments? Anything? Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. In terms, well, we can talk about this, in terms of announcements, to how this will be clarified or explained to the community at large.
We work with Stephanie
Yeah.
to send out an e-blast, and it'll go on our website, and then anything, right now, we print up a one-page flyer
Yeah.
that keeps security, and we'll update that one-page flyer as well.
Okay. Very good, very good. Very good. Next, I'll turn this over to Stephanie.
Yeah.
This is approval of a resolution, so.
You're not print- Yes, do I need to move this closer? I don't know if I heard or not. So probably about a month ago, we were talking with, we had a meeting with Kika Board, our joint meeting that we have every month with the chair and vice chair and the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm in there, and at the time, Jimmy Bailey, the COO, was present. And one of the conversations was COVID, and I also started looking around talking to my counterparts in terms of how do they address or handle employees when it comes to COVID-related matters. And essentially what we've been doing, which I think is great that the town's been doing this, is that if we had an employee who was exposed or had to go and get a shot, which we can definitely continue, obviously, to encourage that. But obviously, it's a personal decision on if you want to have a shot or not. But we would cover the time that they're out of the office, either because they've been exposed and they have to self-quarantine, or they're exposed and they got ill, or whatever the matter might be. We covered that. If they were able to work from home, it was great. But we do have some staff that do not have the ability to work from home because of their job. And so when I looked around to see what other communities were doing, because of course we're getting to the end, as the mayor said, with regards to masks, that more and more of our, of the population is getting vaccinated, and again, if you decide not to, but more and more are. And so the question becomes, is I get staff who may reach out to me and say, well, I've been exposed, so what do I do? And then, you know, I am going through the process of what you need to do, and if you've been vaccinated or not, and if you don't feel sick, come to work. But we still encourage everyone that if you're outside your office to wear your face covering. So what I then did was I had pulled a very similar process that the community association uses, and I shared that with our town attorney. Because I think it was very interesting. They started several months ago that if you have to be out, you have to use your own time, et cetera. Or if you don't have time, it's just unpaid. And they had some other things that they had wrote into the policy. And I had our town attorney look at it, and I also had our labor attorney look at it with, I always get it wrong, YCR, Young Clemens Rivers, but I think they may have changed it now to Clemens
It's hard
Rivers.
to keep track, yeah.
The labor attorney look at the policy, and they just felt like there was something that the town could not do as a municipality. So they went ahead and they drafted up a policy that we can do. It's a standalone policy. I felt like it should not be part of our HR manual because it's really specific to a pandemic, because we don't have anything regarding to the flu or anything else. So I felt, no, this would be a standalone policy, one that not only for me as the town administrator, but also for staff to understand. Moving forward, we still are very supportive of you, but moving forward, if you have to be out for COVID related, use your PTO. If you don't have any PTO, it would be unpaid. But again, if you've been exposed and we say, okay, you take 3 or 4 days out, but you're able to work from home, then we encourage that. Please work from home if you're comfortable doing so. So what this just does is it just spells out, and it's just for COVID related employee policy, one for all of staff, and also for me to be able to understand and fall back on, so that we're not constantly scratching our head like, what should we do at this particular time? Or where are we? I mean, we can be here a year from now and still dealing with COVID, and what do we do? So this policy is in place to help staff and myself know how we're gonna deal with it moving forward. We may have to tweak it even here or there. Is there anything, Joe, I know you've been in talks or been part of the communication chain. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No,
You don't
I
have
think
to.
that covers it.
Okay, that's no problem. Is there any questions?
Well, the nature of a resolution versus an ordinance. The resolution is into our manual, internal.
No, resolution is basically, you don't have to have, it's an agreement of council, because you basically have to have a motion to approve it. So
Okay.
essentially, it's a oral.
There's it's just an
process.
approval.
Yeah, it's an oral
There's
approval.
a very discrete list of things that have to be done by ordinance.
Yeah.
But it just covers, it doesn't cover
Okay.
something like this.
Right.
I'll put it that way.
So the council is just approving this policy?
It's a policy, yeah,
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
Like a budget has to be approved by ordinance.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
No.
Question.
I have a question.
Oh,
Well, I think you want to do a discussion.
Yeah.
You want to do a discussion, or you want,
yes, to get to that
Okay.
point. We haven't taken a motion yet.
no,
Yeah.
you haven't. That's what you were starting off.
Yeah, so if I could have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Second. Discussion?
Okay,
Question?
In
yes.
the past, we have been paying our people, right?
Yes, if someone is out, they were paid. So they were out, they were either working because they were exposed, but they still felt fine that they were able to work from home. Or if they were sick, like we had one employee that actually had COVID and she was sick, so she couldn't work the time that she could. She had to self-quarantine for 14 days, so when she was feeling well, she worked. When she wasn't, she didn't, but we were paying the entire time.
And now we will not.
Now people will have to use their PTO, so they will still get paid. And if they don't have any PTO, then they would not get paid, or if they can work from home, they will still get paid. They won't have to use their PTO. So if I had, I'll use myself as an example. If I was exposed and I felt like I needed to quarantine for 3 days, but I wasn't sick, I'll just work from home for those 3 days and get paid. If I was exposed and I was sick, then of course I can't work, so those 3 days I'm out, I would use my PTO. If I didn't have any PTO left, then I would be out for 3 days without PTO. If we had, for instance, a code enforcement officer who cannot, well, let me take it back. Their primary job is obviously to drive the island. So if they're exposed and they're home, there are things that they may be able to do, which is like if they have letters or something that they can do. But if they don't have anything that they can do, then they're home, but they would have to use the PTO. But if they're at home and they said, yep, we can go into Citizen Serve and we can do all of our letters or do whatever we need to do, then we can work out something. They will work with their supervisor, Bruce, we would talk. As long as they have work to do and they're not sick, but they're just exposed, and they want to take 3 days off to make sure, they don't do the rapid test or whatever, then they can work from home and they don't have to use their PTO. So it would be like if someone is exposed, we will have to find out, one, how sick they are, what their jobs are, can they work from home? If they can't, they use their PTO, or they can elect to have unpaid.
Well, that brings up two questions, and I guess I'm not sure what the state of the law is. Is that considered compensable? So if one of our officers, and I should know what a healthcare worker, if they're actually confronted to a patient or a person, that does convey, the virus to them, is that considered comp?
I don't
On the job, you mean?
know if it's comp.
I hesitate. It would probably be yes.
I would think,
I would
Yeah.
assume so.
yeah, if you require that. So
But then
I mean,
it'd be-
Just
I hadn't thought-
through the road to file a comp, it would be filing our comp insurance.
yeah, I hadn't thought of it until you mentioned your
That's a whole new thing, and I don't know how the state would or our comp insurance handles that, or,
I mean, I am guessing that would be covered by workers' comp,
I would
because that's right in
I would check.
Wouldn't it be dependent upon only if you can prove that that's actually where the
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
well, that's a gift, right?
Yeah,
yeah, because we wouldn't be able to prove if they caught it, but we would check with our workers' comp, because I don't know, I haven't heard of any municipality, actually, an employee going through that, but we would have to check with our comp insurance.
well, what prompted me was just the example that you gave. And then the second, it appears, and it is, silent relative to the employer, us, the municipality, taking a position relative to the vaccination for our employees.
Yeah. And I would-
That's
so-
intentional?
Well,
Well,
They-
that,
well, you can go ahead, but one of the things that I was, because everyone has a choice if they want to or not, of course, and one of the things that,
Well, some are taking a position.
right, some are, and that's one of the things, because I was going to incentivize it in a way to say, if you did, we would give something, but then I was told that no, the municipality, and because certain things is in the state, we couldn't do that.
Oh, really?
it's an area that's really up in the air.
Yeah.
A lot of people are discussing it.
Yeah.
A lot of the legal community is discussing it.
The
but-
incentivizing or the requiring?
Well,
Both.
both, because if you incentivize, in essence, that's one of the things that they told me, that I
Yeah.
can't
Open
incentivize.
yourself up to discrimination claim.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to get too far into legal
Yeah.
advice. We should do an executive session for that. But, I mean, suffice it to say that the law is very much up in the air. Everyone's anticipating that a court or several courts will eventually start weighing in on these issues, but that really has not happened yet. You can Google this stuff and you can see all kinds of different opinions from legal experts, employment law experts, about how this all could go, but it's not hard to see a path. When you're using incentives, it's not hard to see a path of someone claiming that amounts to discrimination because I can't get the shot because of my religious beliefs,
Yeah,
right?
For example, right?
well, I suppose, well, no.
Not that that's happened yet.
I don't know that I don't know that the answer to either one of those necessarily should influence the proceeding with this resolution, but those are things to keep in mind, for sure. I guess and I especially think that issue of the mandating of the vaccine is gonna be coming up over these next couple of months, because there's gonna be a lot of people that just aren't gonna get it.
I think the safer approach, and both myself and the employment lawyer agreed the safer approach is not to put your foot into that
Yeah.
mess just yet.
Okay.
And let me say, I mean, just since we're in open court, and I've said this, I personally, you know, I've been looking at these issues, especially government restrictions, for the past year. We've all learned some old vaccine law. Constitutionally speaking, the government has very broad powers to combat this, and we're the government. Let's not forget that. That makes us a unique employer. Governments have very broad powers to combat pandemics. And that's been the law for over 100 years, including quarantines and vaccination programs.
Masks.
And none of that has really been overturned in the last year. Certainly, I think it's more issue of there's no political will to wield the full power of what governments can do here. So I just want to make that clear on the record. I don't think there's, when you get right down to it, I would question whether there's any constitutional restrictions on what we can do as a governmental entity. But that doesn't mean, I mean, there's been some surprising things legally in the past year. And I don't know that we want to be the ones on the forefront of trying to make cases on this.
For sure.
So, just so that I'm clear, this is not really an updated COVID policy. This is a new COVID policy that basically codifies what you would like to have happen.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
That's correct. Yeah.
And this is just for,
COVID.
it's not going in the employee handbook, but it is.
This is a resolution, it's not by ordinance. That's correct. Yeah, and it's very specific just to the COVID pandemic. It's not for anything else. Because in our employee handbook, we have policies related to attendance and other things. So, yeah. And you know, one of the things that we did, you guys, I believe, got an updated version of this because we wanted to clarify to ease any concerns, because there was just some language in there that dealt with unpaid, and we wanted to clarify that by no means does it mean that if the town didn't approve the unpaid that you would be let go, because it would revert back to our attendance policy. So we just wanted to clarify that just to ease some concerns that staff may have.
Yeah, that was good.
And I will say again, you know, while we have this policy, it's great, but it really, you know, if there are certain things on a case-by-case basis, and we don't want,
Supervisor.
right, because I don't want any staff person to feel like, you know, if they're sick, and it's COVID-related, and if they don't have any time, I don't want them to feel like they have to drag themselves into work. So it will be, you know, right now how we handle it is really as a case-by-case, but this policy does help, I think, for staff to, and for myself to understand, okay, what do we need to do and not do.
That's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Okay, the movement seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tab 5. Dan, you want to walk through this with everybody?
Yeah,
This is SATEX funding.
State tax.
in front of you is the recommendations from the, not only from the Accommodations Tax Committee, but from Ways and Means recommending that the grants for 2021, yeah, 2020.
See if your mic's on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not on, that's why.
Hello? Now it's on.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Anyway, this comes last from Ways and Means, but prior to that from the State ATAX Committee. The requests this year were for $1,093,000. And the committee agreed to funding those requests fully. So this comes now to Ways and Means, who recommends this to council. We did discuss, and I've mentioned before, the committee does plan to talk in November to see whether or not additional funds would be requested for that year that we would be into, not this current year that we're in, but the new year, based on changes in conditions. But at this moment, this is their request, and we have adequate funding to fund all of this, so it comes to you with a recommendation from Ways and Means.
Is that, sir, a motion to,
So I make a motion that we approve these recommendations from Ways and Means.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions of Dan? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, this ordinance before you is 2021-06, and this is the adoption of our 21-22 budget. So we have had two or three sessions where we've gone through the budget itself in detail. Deruta and her staff, Stephanie and Deruta and her staff have put together another fine piece of work. Deruta, anything to add, or Stephanie, anything to add to this?
I don't.
The only change from what you saw last week is the $25,000.
Right.
To,
SGA.
SG,
Yeah.
okay.
I just added a few more steps.
Okay.
Could I have a motion to approve, please?
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? And again, just for the record, what Deruta is referring to, we added an additional $25,000 as part of our contribution for the SGA research study for the 21-22 year. We aren't committing anything past that other than what we had already had committed, but we added up another $25,000, and now we'll see what the pesticide industry comes up with, so that'll be, but anyway, it's another. Okay, any other discussion, comments about the budget?
No, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Another job, well done. Stephanie, Town Administrator's report.
I don't have a lot to report, Mayor. Just as a reminder, e-blast went out, so with regards to the PGA, Beachwalker County Park, they are closed May 15th to the 25th, I believe. Is that correct, Stephanie? 15th to the 25th, they're closed. The parking lot's going to be used for RV parking for PGA. For those, I think, golfers that are coming in using the PGA. So Beachwalker Drive is just going to be open to through traffic. But that is for the PGA. And of course, we're still, we're going to spruce up. So with regards to the parkway and landscaping, where our main sign is at, that's going to be, we're confirming if that's being painted today, but
It did get.
it did. Well, they kind of jumped the ball on that because we were going to power wash it, then paint it. So if they painted it today, then it didn't get the power wash. We're adding some larger landscaping in that area to really kind of make it pop, because right now the landscaping, it's going to look beautiful probably in a year, but right now it just it's not there. So we're adding landscaping in that section to make it pop. As you guys realize where our right turn lane is at and where the new bike path, we're adding some additional landscaping there for buffer area. Excuse me. And the roundabout, you guys know the 4 islands are done. They've thinned out that area, and we're looking at putting, resodding that area as long as the siding, when they lay it down, it doesn't look like new sod with all the lines. So we are gonna resod that area. So, we're also, right now, I have Brian looking into, street cleaning, to have the street cleaned.
That's good.
But right now, we are working to get ready for the PGA by making sure the parkway, which is the front door to the community, that it looks great. The lights should be working, back working, because they did some work in the landscape beds. The lights are not on, so I know people have sent me messages saying the lights are out, so we should have those lights on pretty soon. But other than that, I think it's just work as usual. I know that Bruce's team is busy with East-West project, which is called the Cape. I know that they're, he told us today in our senior staff meeting that they're getting their office trailer together. Is that correct, Bruce?
Yeah, their office trailers, well, doing the pads.
The sales office?
For the office trailers, and that'll be done by the end of the week, so. That'll be all set up, and we're actually, we're beginning the review process for the project probably on Thursday.
Bruce, this is a question that I continue, well, we all hear about, and that's the level of development and the level of going on. Do you have a metric in terms of square footage that square footage that is under review by your team? I mean, is that a?
It's something I can obtain, I don't have it currently.
Could you do that? Just, it would be interesting to know that, you know, we currently have X hundreds of thousands of square footage as compared to a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. But I think that would be kind of an interesting metric to kind of know about, learn about. Because, you know, because now we're getting into big projects. Now we're getting into projects that are bigger, larger square footage, larger footplates than an individual house, say. So the permit, that would be helpful. That'd be interesting to, okay, thank you.
For all residential and commercial, or just commercial?
Both,
Both, okay.
both. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. But other than that, I don't have anything else now, unless you all have any specific questions for me. Staff, it's just busy. It's just been a busy time for us. I know Bruce's team, again, our building inspection, our permit office, basically, building department is kind of closed from May 10th through the 14th because they're going to be out inspecting all the tents for the PGA. They're here. When I say closed, we're not closed, but they're just all hands on deck because they have if you guys haven't been out there to Ocean Course, it is just to see the transformation there.
It's amazing.
Well, all those inspections is handled by Bruce and his team. So they are going to be busy May 10th through the 14th. So real exciting time for us. Also, from a public safety standpoint, I know I've been working with Councilwoman Connolly. We were just talking at the senior staff meeting with regards to the traffic and the delays there on the Parkway. You know, we have a deputy there, but they can only do so much. It's, you know, if it's taking time for, you know, people to get through the security gate, just because, I'm not saying it's anything with the community association, could be someone's in the wrong lane, they're having a conversation. Just the other day, I heard that traffic was backed up to the roundabout.
Right.
And the deputies they can't push traffic through if traffic is at the gate waiting or having a conversation with the security person. So I'm constantly getting questions and concerns about that. And we have a deputy there, but the deputies are saying, we really can't do much if traffic is being held up. But we're still looking at we're still, you know, paying attention to that, and hopefully we don't know what's going to come from the beach walker study. As you guys recall,
Right.
Kimberly Horn, we're still waiting on the survey, so hopefully they'll be able to start soon. But one of the options is for them to look at that intersection and give a recommendation. So we'll see what they come up with in terms of maybe ways to help ease traffic a little bit. We don't know if this is just an unusual year. Again, because of all the people on the island, this could be an unusual year and things could get back to normal next year. Yes.
I just want to comment, I was going to say this later with my public safety. I think I told you that in March, we had 55,000 more cars coming through the gate than we did the same time last year. If you look at February and January, it's similar, not as much, but it's been 22,000 or 30,000 cars. So there's only so many vehicles that can pass through at one time. And personally, I feel like it's going to be like that for a while. One of my resources that's been checking in the traffic said the last few days haven't been as bad as they were.
Good.
So I think if the guard there, the Kika guard, is pushing people through a little faster, that helps a lot. But they can't do
Right.
If somebody stops for a question,
Right.
that just holds everything.
Mary Ann, a question for you. In the afternoon, are we having or either one of you can answer, are we having a policeman push them through the stop sign on the exit?
No.
Because there's no, because that gets backed way up.
That gets backed up as well, and that's one of the things that we talked about, because of course if there's cars on Beach Walker, being able to turn left, but I could have a deputy there in the afternoon. Right now, there's a deputy that's supposed to be there from 8 to 10 or 7 to 10 in the morning, but we don't have one in the afternoon.
You might look, and what I've noticed, the others you may have noticed as well, but
It's getting backed up.
starting about 4 o'clock, probably till 5:30 or so,
As contractors trying
they're
to.
way backed up trying to get out, just out of here.
Right.
And that backs way up.
One of the things that people have asked me about is controlling the flow at the stop sign.
Yeah.
Like ignoring the stop sign and letting
Well, that's what
people
they could do.
just
They
go
could let
by.
20 cars go through.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about, on the outbound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
The
no
pol-
Kika there.
when
I mean,
there's-
there's no Kika.
When there's a sheriff there, a deputy there, that can happen. Otherwise, it's a safety hazard because of the cars coming
Right.
from
Yeah.
Beach Walker.
Sure.
Right.
Because I've talked to Tony about that
You might look
too.
at that for the next,
Yeah.
not during the municipal week, because there won't be any contractors on, or during the PGA week.
yeah.
But the rest of the time, I'd say,
Yeah.
maybe every day for a while to just get them out.
It's a good point.
I don't think that this is gonna slow down for quite a while, because if we've got 100 homes currently being built, that is a tremendous contractor load that is above and beyond what we historically have ever seen.
Sure.
I totally agree.
It's
And
probably
then you,
five-
you probably knew that earlier this week that the right-hand side on the inbound side that lane was closed because Kika had some staffing issues, and so they had to close that lane. And so it
Oh,
was
that's
blocked down
not
the left
good.
lane, and I suspect that was the day that it was backed up to the roundabout.
That's unfortunate.
Probably so. Mr. Mayor, anything else?
One question, and I know this has already been covered by the PGA bid. Who's responsible for EMS coverage during this week? Which hospital? Is it a hospital system or is it
The county EMS.
their
And they're
staff?
gonna actually have someone here at the PGA.
But neither MUSC or Roper is taking?
MUSC, they're gonna actually have a physician on, here during that time.
Doesn't PGA also provide their own physicians?
I don't know if they provide their own physicians, but they have, PGA has MUSC physician here.
Okay.
If you don't know the protocol, you may want to call Ryan and ask for the protocol because, something will happen, people will call you or,
Right.
so that you
Yeah.
need to know.
There's an incident command center
Yeah.
post, and so the MUSC physician's gonna be housed there.
Okay,
And
All right.
then the county EMS, they're gonna have a vehicle stationed here.
okay.
And what's your cell phone number again?
It is, what is it, 999-9999?
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. Committee updates, Mary Ann?
Thank you. First, I'd like to comment on the landscaping and say I'm glad that you put the palmetto trees in the triangles. That looks really nice. Thank you. Today, for public safety, I'd just like to comment on the CERT team, which is a group of volunteers, certified emergency response people that exist, and they volunteer to participate in different events that they might be called upon in the town. They have asked to participate and help with the PGA. They're definitely going to work at Swim Across America, triathlon, the marathon, and any other island emergencies that occur. There are 18 certified members and 22 non-certified. It's a very nice volunteer effort that goes unrecognized at time, but Scott Nelson has done a very good job of bringing this group back together and making sure they have all the supplies and everything they need. Our firehouse, I'm not sure, and Bruce is here, I don't know if they've gotten a certificate of occupancy yet for the new.
Not yet. They
Oh.
have, by now, they should have already moved the fire personnel into the new facility.
Right,
So they have a temporary CO.
good,
They
okay.
still have the old, the trailer to remove that they were housing, you know, the temporary trailer, and then they have the, tent membrane, if you will, where they were housing the trucks. All that has to be moved so they can finish paving.
Right,
As soon as
okay.
that's done, then we'll be able to use it.
I will say that the fire chief is very happy with the work that has been done on this firehouse. It was done in the time frame they had expected, not like the other one that took months and months and overruns on the budget. So at least it's ready to get ready for the C of O. For the Arts Council, wait, one other thing. Stephanie and I are working with EMS on getting an agreement together to have our ambulance available at all times and to fully staff Site 10,
Station 10.
Station 10. And that's
Or
moving
Station
along.
6.
Yeah, it's moving along very well. For the Arts Council season came to a close in April, with sadly no in-person events were held. Pandemic brought many lows across the globe, but there are a few of the Art Council's high notes, and those were some of the virtual stats that the Arts Council went ahead and had, like Quentin Baxter and the Charleston Symphony, as well as Small Glories. For the 2021 season, 2022, the Arts Council has finalized the 2021-22 season, and contracts will be sent after the Town Council approves the budget in June. With so many events from the pandemic now being rescheduled, venue availability is scarce. And I know this impacts not just the Arts Association, other organizations. And the Arts Council would like to thank Chairman David Wall for all the events that have venues. They're still looking at some events to find a place for it to be scheduled. And last but not least is the just can't think.
Audit?
Audit Committee.
Yeah, I'm gonna audit.
We have our first Audit Committee meeting in July, and we'll be getting ready for the audit that takes place in September. And that would be it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. That, Mary Ann mentioned the cooperation and the discussions that are going on between Stephanie and Mary Ann and the county EMS. Maybe we can take a moment at next month's meeting to give everybody a little bit more of an update in terms of what progress that has the potential for being a very positive, interesting and desirable, change for the entire community. So that
I'm very excited about
we'll
it.
talk more about that. Okay, Scott, anything?
I have nothing at this time.
Dan?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
No general comments? Citizens' comments? Any
None. Nope. Good for me.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're
Second.
adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you all.